What's happening, film friends? Dave the Film Junkie here. Not doing a Film Junkie live. Why? Because technology has a case of the fucking Mondays. That's right. Case of the Mondays. So I'm just recording it. I'm not sure exactly what was happening, but tried to go live and the whole thing started glitching like crazy. So essentially I'm doing Film Junkie live, but it's pre-recorded, which that's always like a weird thing. It's just recorded. Not pre-recorded, it's just recorded. But hopefully you guys are doing good and everything like that. I apologize for anybody who was like watching that. Okay, now that's not working. There we go. My God. Tell you what, man. I was even saying how much I was having like an interesting kind of, Monday because I had like a birthday celebration thing over the weekend. So a lot of boozing. So I was moving a little slow this morning, and apparently that affected the internet. Anyways, all right, let's just go ahead and just jump right into things. We'll jump into some tweets. We're going to start off with this right here because I really enjoy this guy's artwork, and it's from 21X4, his 21 concepts. We have, when it comes to the new Green Lantern, which kind of curious to see because apparently when it comes to Green Lantern, they're going to be, they already announced a person that's going to be directing the first couple of episodes when it comes to Lanterns. We still haven't gotten our Jon Stewart yet. Apparently, though, that Aaron Pierre, and I forgot who the other gentleman who is going up for Jon Stewart. Apparently they tested last week, and so we should be hearing something when it comes to Jon Stewart. But we do, in fact, have our Green Lantern, and we got some pretty cool art right here that shows Mr. Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan. Whoa, look at that. That's pretty sweet. Not too shabby. I even like the design of the costume. So yeah, this is from 21X Concepts right here. Leather jacket looks good. He looks good. The mask looks good. Everything looks pretty damn good. That looks like a Hal Jordan right there to me. That does. So, great work right there. Great work, and I really enjoy that. So, we always like to, feature all that kind of stuff, and it's just, it's going to be interesting when we finally get what the actual Green Lantern costumes are going to look like. Pretty sweet. And then we got another look at Nicolas Cage. And, of course, Spider-Man Noir. That's from Just Jared, though. Those guys, they don't like it when people use things. So, might want to be careful with that. I'm just saying. But anyway, so got all that. And then, let's see. I'm scrolling. And let's see, what do we got? Oh, we got an awesome little picture right there that Annie Potts posted of her and Harold Ramis on the set of Ghostbusters. I mean, come on. You got to cherish that right there. That looks pretty good. I mean, of course, that's at the end when they're doing, like, the credits and everything like that. And then she shows up. But, somebody snapped a picture on that set. Gotta love that. And it says, the wonderful moment with Harold Ramis on the Ghostbusters set. Gotta love seeing that. Let's see, what else we have here? Well, we'll talk about that with DC News. Okay, we got this right here. Okay, guys. Okay. Zack Snyder. That's right, we got Zack Snyder here, and it's not officially confirmed yet, but apparently it is happening. It is happening according to this right here, which is from World of Real. Not sure, but saw this right here. Somebody sent it to me, and we were talking about what is his next movie going to be? What is Zack Snyder's next movie going to be? Because we figured it wasn't going to be Rebel Moon 3 or Planet of the Dead. And we kept hearing about this possible UFC movie, and Zack himself has said numerous times that he would actually like to do a smaller movie that doesn't have a bunch of VFX everywhere. Not a bunch of VFX everywhere. So maybe, and this is pretty interesting right here. Zack Snyder's next film set in the world of UFC, Adam Driver offered lead role. What? That's right. And, of course, he talked about doing that small movie. And this person right here, Jordan Rumi. Last night, a source emailed me that Snyder's next film, which isn't planned at Netflix, would be set in the world of UFC. Zach Balin, King Richard, co-wrote the screenplay with Snyder. It's planned as a theatrical with UFC, including its president, Dana White, being directly involved. That's a win. That is a win right there. So very much looking forward to that. And I'm like, yes, please, let's have this. Adam Driver, possibly Adam Driver being the star. I mean, it's all coming together. It's all this has the potential to be something pretty damn awesome right here. And I got a little Woody. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little Woody when I read that. Just saying. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about the Penguin. Of course, we're going to be talking about the episode 3. And we got Rico Jr. right here who does excellent posters. He did this one for the Penguin right here. And if you look closely, what do you see right there, huh? What do you see over his head? The eyebrows shaped like the Batman bat right there. That's Purdy. Rico is awesome, man. Follow him. He does really, really, really good work. So enjoyed seeing that. Let's see. What else we got here? Scrolling through, not going through every little thing. Of course, we have what? The All In special, DC. Amazing news. Scott Snyder posted that the second printing is about to happen because the first one sold out, which is always great. I thought this was funny right here. Put a little happy kitten right there. When it comes to Vigo, he's looking too angry. So, let's put a little happy little kitten right there just to make Vigo not so angry looking. Why not? Why not? It's good stuff. And this is good stuff. Voices of Gotham. What? A Blood Snow film? Huh? What is this? And this is kind of in the vein of the Tall Tales thing a little bit, I guess. Even though it's like, it's kind of in the vein because I never really got into the Tall Tales thing when it came to animation. And, and I'm surprised I should just go back and do that. But we have this right here that somebody posted. Julian Cherry posted this right here. It's called Voices of Gotham. It's a Blood Snow film. And check this out. This is pretty freaking amazing right here.
Oracle.
I just lost the signal.
He's on the prowl, like a predator.
I mean, I will say the voice is a little bit much, but hey, still cool. But I like look at that. Oh, I love the freaking style.
Come on, show yourself.
Swear to me. Voices of Gotham, Blood Snow. Man. Hello. Hello. That's just, again, I love it. I love it when people just take it upon themselves to make some really cool stuff. I love it. Julian Cherry, man. He's an animator. And he's worked with all the big ones. So that's sweet. Halle Berry. So Halle Berry, she decided to post something right here that was kind of interesting. That some of it we kind of knew, but some of it we didn't. But she posted something about Matthew Vaughn in X-Men 3. And it's kind of interesting because, when it came to Storm in X-Men 3, there was something, I don't know, felt like she was kind of underutilized, I guess you could say. And there were supposed to be more things. And there was always like a thing where Matthew Vaughn, who specifically said that he was supposed to direct X-Men 3, but walked away from it because he heard that they wrote a fake script to get Halle Berry on board. It was very interesting. So she posted this right here. You just never know the shady shit going on behind your back. Thank you, Matthew Vaughn, for bringing the dark to light. And here's the video right here.
This is so gross.
Of course
so Matthew Vaughn, the director of the Kingsman movies. And
we can fast forward a little bit because we already
into
know
doing
this.
the movie.
On an odd, and I went into one of the executives' office and I saw an X3 script, and I immediately knew it was a lot faster. I was like, what the hell is this draft? He went, don't worry about it. And I was like, no, I'm the director, I'm worrying about this draft. Tell me what it is, please. He wouldn't tell me, so I grabbed it. Literally, it was like a crazy moment where I grabbed it, opened the first page, and it said, Africa, storm, kids dying of no water. She creates a thunderstorm and saves all these children. Oh, okay, that's a pretty cool idea. What is this? And they went, oh, it's the Halle Berry script. So I went, okay, because she hasn't signed up yet. But once this is what she wants it to be, and once she signs up, we'll throw it in the bin. And I was like, wow, you're going to do that to
Once she signs up, we will throw it in the bin. Jesus Christ, that's shady.
An Oscar-winning actress who plays Vaughn. I'm out of here. So I quit at that point. I thought, mincemeat.
Not only is that deceitful, sketchy nonsense on behalf of the studio, but
Yeah.
it sounds like those extra Storm scenes could have been interesting.
Yeah, they
Years
sound
later,
cool.
Vaughn would go on to direct X-Men First Class. And he's got another story about Fox's shady business.
Here we go.
Regarding the sequel, Days of Future Past, which he wrote.
You were going to hang around, weren't you? You were going to direct X-Men Days of Future Past.
Well, I was, but Hollywood forgot to tell me after I wrote the damn thing that legally Brian got to direct it first. So that's, I went, you know what, I'm not mucking around with Hollywood anymore. I'm going to go do Kingsman.
Wow. So Matthew Vaughn had some struggles when it came to Fox. I mean, first off, when it came to that, which we heard before, but then I didn't know about the whole, like, oh yeah, he was supposed to do Days of Future Past, but then they already had like a whole thing where, yeah, Bryan Singer's coming back to do it. Now, you know, Bryan Singer sucks. He sucks. But at the same time, I mean, the movie's still pretty fucking good. That's what's sad. It's like, Brian, you know, let's face it, he's part of the whole X-Men thing, but I'm like kind of going, what would have been a Matthew Vaughn Days of Future Past? That would have been interesting, but man, shady shit from Fox. Shady shit. Terrible. But I love that Halle Berry posted that. I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, and I have to talk about this. Because this is the most stupidest fucking theory when it comes to coffee, all right? Because everybody always talks about how they like their coffee. It seems like every 7 weeks on Twitter, you see one of those pictures like, how do you prefer your coffee? And anytime that I mention that I like my coffee blacker than my soul, I get looked at like, what? Really? And I'm like, what? What's wrong with having black coffee? But we got this person right here who posted this, and I saw this, and I went, what the hell is this theory right here? I have a theory that most people who say they like black coffee the best actually don't. Whether it's intentional or subconscious, at least with men, black coffee tries to portray masculinity. It tries to scream rugged. It's roughing it in a cup. In 2024, we oftentimes find ourselves without struggle, yet have a primal need to feel like we do. It's all just accessorizing. I struggled with that one. Our avatar to display to the world, no different than obsession with bacon. It's okay to put some whole milk in there. We won't judge. But, by the way, I'm taking number 4. We won't judge, yet you're judging people who like black coffee. You know the reason why I like black coffee? Because I like the taste of fucking coffee. All you motherfuckers that are putting all this creamer in there, whether it's like mocha this or fucking caramel or vanilla, or I'm getting a soy latte with some cinnamon and some, you know, soybean fucking honey that's straight out of a bee's ass, like put into their freaking coffee. It's like, you don't enjoy the taste of coffee, so why are you drinking coffee? Okay? Just get yourself a caffeinated beverage that you like. I actually like the taste of coffee, so I drink my coffee black. I like it. I like it a lot. So get the fuck out of here. I'm not trying to be like, I'm so masculine or rugged or I'm roughing it. No, I just like the taste of coffee. Crazy. Jesus Christ. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then I thought this was funny. This is funny right here. I had to post it. So we have Rachel Brosnahan and David Corenswet. Apparently, they were doing some kind of stage acting thing. It was for a charity event for the acting company. And I saw this image right here of them on stage, which I thought was pretty sweet because it was like, oh yeah, you know, there's Superman and Lois right there. And here they are. Not sure who the girl is right there when it comes to oh man, what's his name though? Man. Oh, what's his name? But I was focused on there because I was like, wow, that James Gunn is also there too. But I always forget his name. I know it's this dude right here who played Howard Stark, and I always forget his name. What the fuck is his name? Hold on. I'm going to look it up right now. But it was just kind of funny because I was like, wow, he looks like James Gunn, and I was just like, holy shit. Who played Tony Stark in Iron Man? No, not Tony Stark. Who played Howard Stark in Iron Man? John Slattery. That's right, John Slattery. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I just totally forgot what his name was. He's been in a ton of shit. He's been in so many different things. And I just totally forgot his name. But it's just kind of funny because he looks like James Gunn. He totally looks like James Gunn. Not sure who the girl is, and I love the fact that Rachel Brosnahan is kind of looking over at Corenswet. So yeah, so that happened. Nothing big right there. It was just kind of cool. It's just kind of cool. Who's that guy? The Joker? I posted that last night, and people were like, what the fuck? And then they're like, oh, that's the actor who was in Joker 2. We'll talk a little bit more about that and stuff. So, let's see. What else we got? Okay, so we got this right here. We all hope that Will Smith can maybe make a comeback and something like that. And apparently looks like Will Smith is actually going to be working with Michael Bay yet again. They're going to be getting together for a movie. And hey, you know what? Will Smith, Michael Bay, hey, match made in heaven. And apparently something is happening right now. Will Smith is in talks to star in Fast and Loose with Michael Bay in talks to direct. The film follows a man who wakes up with no memories but soon learns he's been living two lives, one as a crime kingpin and the other as an undercover CIA agent. Inject that into my goddamn fucking eyeballs, okay? Inject that wherever you want. And that sounds amazing. That the story sounds awesome. You're gonna have fucking Bayhem. You're gonna have Will Smith starring. Come on, please let this happen. I want this reunion to please happen, because yes, we can get over everything that happened with Will Smith and everything like that, right? We can move on to that. I'm sorry, I just grew up watching the guy, and I know he's had some bad moments, and it's hopefully he's got that help. I mean, it doesn't help that he has what's her name, but anyways, I'm just saying, I want this bad. I want this awesome. This sounds awesome. Please put that in here. So there we go. All right, that's it. That's all when it comes to the tweets right there. Let's get to the topics. Of course, we're going to be talking about DCU and everything. And you know what? Let's get through DCU stuff right off the bat. I just want to get through DCU stuff before we start diving into this article that I'm going to be talking about when it comes to Joker Folie à Deux. So let's talk about other things right now. I already told you that when it comes to Lanterns, of course, they were fun. They found like that one director who was like directed some Black Mirror episodes and everything like that. And it's like, all right, it's cool, it's fine. There's some things as well when it comes to James Gunn. James Gunn talking about Frank Grillo. And I'm just pulling things from right now from DC Film News. One of the things that was talked about last week was James Gunn on Frank Grillo's role in Creature Commandos. He is a really cool character that Frank has been molding, and, is playing. Also in Superman, he's an incredibly important part in Peacemaker. This isn't just a good guy, not at all. We see all different sides of his character. He is morally a complex human being. And Frank Grillo, he was on a podcast I was watching too, and he was talking about things, but he said he couldn't really talk about a lot. He just said, like, what James Gunn is cooking up is cool, and yeah, mentioned that, yeah. I mean, we all saw the set photos of him being in Superman, so no shock there that he's actually in Superman, so that's cool. But let's see. And then, of course, there's stuff. There's stuff. But then, of course, speaking of Peacemaker, how is Joel Kinnamen? Is he doing the whole crying wolf thing, or the other, whatever the hell that Andrew Garfield talked about when he was talking about like crying wolf, or talking about wolf, or whatever the heck? Remember, like when he was saying that he wasn't going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home? Now we got Joel Kinnamen right here, speaking of Screen Rant. And here's a quote that he actually said right here. That's ridiculous about him appearing in Peacemaker Season 2. I would never be on a show like that. It's not what I do. It's not what I do. It's not what you do, huh? Not what you do, Joel? I don't know. I think like when it comes to some flashbacks or something like that, and the fact that your dad's, the character that you played, the dad is going to be going after Peacemaker. Not going to be some kind of flashback. I don't think anybody's saying that you're going to be alive. But then again, who knows? It's a fucking superhero concept. It's a superhero show. You know, no character stays dead. So, I don't know about that, Joel. I think you might actually be in it. I'm just saying. And it's James Howes right here, who is going to be directing the first 2 episodes of Lantern. So if you guys wanted to know who that was, he did Slow Horses, but he also has directed episodes of Black Mirror. So that's always good too. You know, Black Mirror is a great fucking, it's great. It's absolutely great. And then also, when it comes to DCU stuff, people actually spotted a Superman poster. That's right, a Superman poster, and everybody's going like, oh, wow, there's already a poster out in the wild. There's a poster out in the wild when it comes to Superman. Oh, boy. But apparently, whatever theater chain was posting this, and this is not the first time it's happened because I've seen it before. I've been to a movie theater where I saw a movie poster and I went, that is not a real poster. That is not an official studio poster. That is a fan poster. I know that for a fact, but it was still out there, and it is kind of crazy. But people saw this poster right here, and James Gunn said, I don't know what that is. He also followed it up, too, by saying, like, well, I like their enthusiasm, so I'm okay. He was okay with it. And, yeah. And then, of course, when it comes to James Gunn as well, our awesome YouTuber, who's a much better YouTuber than I am, Mr. Boba Talks, asked James Gunn. James Gunn, up to much this weekend? Caught up on editing notes for Superman and Creature Commandos and storyboarding this upcoming round of Peacemaker, so now I have to read some scripts I haven't gotten to. What scripts are those? Maybe some of them for Lanterns. Could be some episodes for Lanterns. Could be that. Could be another draft when it comes to Supergirl. And then it could be shit that we don't even know about. Who knows? I'm just like, God damn it, James. That's all. Okay, that's fine. You know, you're reading scripts. That's good. You know, we're looking forward to what those scripts actually could be. So, I don't know. We'll see. And then, of course, he talked about how just over half of Peacemaker is actually filmed. So that's cool. And let's see. And then he also brought this up right here because Wonder Woman, Paradise Lost. Remember, that was one of the things that was announced when it came to the DCU slates. Not the script, but maybe they have a script. That could be one of the scripts that James Gunn mentioned that he had to read. Maybe this was part of it too. Could be part of it too. But apparently, you know, somebody was like, hey, let's ask that question. Because I'm like, yeah, good. Guys, if you know, I'm not on whatever app, Threads or Blue Sky or whatever the hell it is. Hey, ask him as many questions. He's not that active on Twitter, but he's very active on these ones right here. But somebody asked him, and he said something about that Wonder Woman Paradise Lost script. Understandable. Any progress on Paradise Lost or Wonder Woman? I can imagine a few drafts being sent in. Yes! So there you go. So that's probably part of that previous tweet where he said that he was reading scripts. Maybe it was part of that. See, I'm telling you, and I think it's so smart of DC Studios to be really leaning into TV, to streaming, because that's what it's all going to be, because look what's happening with the Penguin. People are raving about the Penguin. And if you want to tell a very cohesive story. We don't have to fit it into like a 2-hour and 20-minute runtime. You can actually do a lot. You could do a lot. And I think like when it comes to Paradise Lost, in my opinion, you can make it very Game of Thrones and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I think they could do a lot of that. Themyscira, you could do plenty with that. That's why when they announced that it was going to be a prequel thing where you don't even have Diana, you just have, you're on Themyscira and you have the Amazonians and you're showing that. I'm like, there's not that shit. To me, that was like, that's smart. It's smart. Absolutely smart. So, and let's see. I think that might be it. Well, no, it's not it. It's not it. All right. All right. Kevin Maguire. All right, so we got Kevin Maguire right here. He's an artist. He was an artist on Justice League International. And we have some things here that, I don't know, it's all kind of fucked. Because, I was just kind of like seeing this right here. And apparently he visited, of course, the set. And apparently he watched some footage. He walked around the Fortress of Solitude. And then he said there's definitely a JLI sort of influence here. So he said this. And this was coming from DCU Brief right here. But there's a tweet. There's a tweet from Mr. Maguire that a lot of, people, especially in the Snyder community, and I remember seeing this tweet too and going, Jesus Christ, what a dick. And the tweet was this right here. And I remember when this came out, and it was like, yeah, not good. When Boris Kit posted Joss Whedon has written and will direct additional scenes for Justice League as Snyder deals with family tragedy. And he tweeted out, "Thank you, Jesus." Yeah. Or this. Not a good look. Not a good look. So apparently, so he's now updated this. He's now, because a lot of people were throwing this at him, especially when they were talking about this, when this was being passed around. He actually came back to Twitter and he was like, oh yeah, well, let me go ahead and like clear this up right here. I mean, of course, that was back in 2017 when all the madness was happening. So that was 7 years ago, but he followed it up with this. Why people intentionally misinterpret this, I don't understand. They announced that Snyder was departing, but until this, never said who would take over. I was thrilled to learn that the man who made The Avengers, my favorite superhero movie at the time, was getting the job. Okay, Kevin, 100%. You were happy because you weren't exactly happy with what Zack was doing, which I totally understand because there's people that just did not like his interpretations of stuff. Perfectly fine. But the fact of the matter is, it literally said, while Snyder deals with a family tragedy. And if you actually took the time to see what that family tragedy was, but even the fact that it's there, you shouldn't say, thank you, Jesus. Like, I think you just saw Joss Whedon and you freaked out. And then, of course, I'm not even going to blame him because, I mean, obviously now that we know what happened behind the scenes and what Joss ended up doing and what happened behind the scenes, he should be even like commenting about that. Like, hey, you do remember what you heard, what he was being accused of, right? And you know that Joss Whedon is now no longer like doing anything because of what he's being accused of, right? Okay, but again, this is back in 2017. You were excited for Joss Whedon. Even I remember going, well, it's Joss Whedon. He did do the Avengers movies. That could be something. If Zack was okay with it, cool. Little did we know that Zack had nothing to do with that decision. So then, of course, he comes in and fucks it up, makes it even worse. But the fact of the matter is, I was like, it literally says, while Snyder deals with a family tragedy. And that's just where it goes bad. So there's really no misinterpreting of that because you said, thank you, Jesus. And it seems like you didn't realize that the reason why Zack was leaving was because of a family tragedy and what exactly that tragedy was. That's all. And hey, it's perfectly fine because yes, James Gunn did come out and say that yes, you were very much an inspiration when it came to him, when it came to Mr. Kevin right here, Mr. Maguire, you know. But yeah, it was just like one of those things where it was like, yeah, it just all doesn't sound great, and people are misinterpreting. I don't know. But yeah, James Gunn said, well, you've definitely influenced the DCU, Kevin, and boy, was it a highlight having all you guys on set. So, of course, talking about, you know, like I said, they were all on set and everything like that, and I think it's just like a lot of things. I think like he misunderstood that back in 2017 and had a total brain fart and didn't even think. But it's obvious that he didn't like what Zack Snyder was doing. It's obvious, and I'm like, all right, fine. But it's just like, yeah, be a little bit more aware of what you're tweeting about, okay, when somebody was going through a fucking tragedy. So I still think he's kind of a dick, but at the same time, I don't think he was intentionally trying to be a dick. So I don't know. But yeah, a little bit of a dick right there, a little bit of a dick move. But of course, he's had some inspirations when it comes to Justice League. What is it? JLI. I just totally blanked on what it is. International. Jeez, I was like, what does the I stand for? I almost said intentional because I'm weird. But yeah, it's all very interesting. It's all very interesting. All right. So now let's get into this article right here. Let's get into this article right here when it comes to Joker Folie à Deux. And this article that came out just before, before I went live and now that I'm recording it. So, yeah. So we got Joker. Now we got the outcome. It's not looking good. Things aren't looking good. Now things are just going to be coming out. And it has to do with the old regime and everything. I mean, because we got to remember that 2019, huge success. And there was even problems then. I mean, this is why I think Todd Phillips was like, I'm done after this. After I do this one, I'm fucking done because of what I've had to deal with when it comes to Warner Brothers and the regime, because they didn't want to give him the money to do that, to do the first one. And then he said, fuck you. He made a movie, made $1 billion. And Warner Brothers actually, there was all these kind of like logistics where they didn't even get, like it wasn't even like on them to actually get all that money, which is absolutely ridiculous if you actually think about it. So when it came to the sequel, they wanted to do the sequel. And of course they probably just, signed a bunch more zeros on a check. And then he's like, fuck it, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it like this. And they greenlit it and everything like that. So let's break it down right here. Why no one will get fired over Joker Folie à Deux. It's a huge disaster, but what is the fallout? Asked one source after the sequel to the billion-dollar hit bombs at the box office and is rejected by critics and audiences alike. When Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy took over as co-heads of Warner Brothers Movie Studio in early June of 2021, one of the first decisions they made was to move forward with a sequel to The Joker. The Oscar-winning one, of course, the $1 billion. Virtually all the key deals were already in place by their predecessor, Toby Emmerich. Good old Toby. With A-lister director Todd Phillips and star Joaquin Phoenix getting $20 million paydays in the film, landing a rich net budget of $190 million. So now it went from 200 to 190. Phillips is a huge asset for Warner, his home studio. One small outstanding matter was Lady Gaga's perk package. Within weeks, the papers were signed. Her payday was $12 million, and she was in it not as much as we thought she was going to be in it, so she got a hefty payday. Abdy and DeLuca could have said no to making the film, but they would have been laughing. They would have the laughing stocks of Hollywood, considering the astonishing success of Joker and its record-shattering ride at the global box office, where it ranked as a top-grossing R-rated film of all time, until, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine took that from them this year. But over the October 4th to the 6th weekend, everyone at Warner's, including the executive duo, were left reeling as Folie à Deux collapsing in its box office debut with $37.8 million domestic opening after becoming the first comic book movie in history to receive a D cinema score. Phillips, according to one source, spent the weekend in seclusion on a ranch property he owns. Dude was like, I already know this movie's probably going to fucking bomb. I'm just going to go to this ranch. I got paid. Fuck y'all. I think that's kind of what he did. And then, of course, it talks about that. And then a source says, it is complete audience rejection, says one source. Overseas, Folie à Deux came in at an estimated 81. While it's not the lowest North American opening for a pick based on a DC character, Junkee Folie à Deux is a major stumble. Yet numerous sources tell THR that there's no studio head in Hollywood, say perhaps for Sony's Tom Rothman, who would have turned down making a sequel to a film that was both commercial and a critical hit. To boot, Abdi and DeLuca were under orders by Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav to fill a bare cupboard after the studio's Project Popcorn disaster, which alienated talent by sending its entire 2021 slate day and date to streaming service. Max Zaslav also is keen to exploit the company's IP more fully. It's a collective failure, but it was right to make the movie, says one top veteran producer and financier, who points out that Phillips is a brilliant director who has made Warner's billions in between the first Joker and the Hangover movies. Still, observers wonder how DeLuca and Abdi could have presided over a film that veered so far off course from what audience wanted or expected. One answer, perhaps, Phillips was given an extraordinary level of autonomy and final cut. There was no test screening through insiders. Through insiders say this was a mutual decision between the filmmaker and Warner's in order to preserve spoilers. See, that's one of the things that was being passed around this weekend where people were like, oh, wow, they didn't do test screenings? And, of course, he was comparing it to the whole Batgirl thing and saying, like, wow, they tested that, and then that ended up screwing up Batgirl or something like that. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, guys, we don't want test screenings because that's what fucks up art. When you do the test screenings, it can fuck up a vision. It could really do that. And I'm glad that they didn't do that. So that's good. In my opinion, that's good. The decision does stretch, it says like basically like they didn't want it to spoil because that's what happens. On the first Joker, former blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. And then, of course, they talk about how this was not a DC Studios production. It was a Warner Brothers production because, of course, the people that hate James Gunn, they're like, what the fuck? They either want to blame James Gunn for it. And, they talk about like that he did try to be like, hey, here's some notes if you want them, but it wasn't under him. And he even he explained it himself that, that it wasn't going to be that. Anyways, so it says, since Phillips' main forte was comedy, Emmerich capped the budget, and that's when they talk about the first one, because Emmerich was being the dick, and he said, like, no, we're not going to give you all that much. But, of course, it ended up making a shit ton, and it was like, in your face, Toby Emmerich. On Sunday, Warner's didn't attempt to sugarcoat the movie's performance or suggest it was a chance of catching on after being rejected by fanboys, unless people want to go see it because of the hate factor. They also didn't point fingers internally, such as the marketing, which can often happen after a movie bombs. It's a huge disaster, but what is the fallout? Who is to blame? One source says. But both Gunn and Phillips have emphasized in recent days that they did not work together on the project, with Gunn answering the question from fan social media that, of course, there's no DC logo. Phillips himself has confirmed that Gunn and Safran had nothing to do with the movie and basically just said that at a recent screening. Okay, Todd did his thing. Let Todd continue to do his thing. Gunn and Safran have vested interest in distancing themselves from Joker and the bombs and all that stuff. Indeed, they did distance all that, and we don't need to really talk about all that right there. Regardless of whether Joker 2 is a proper DC title, it is the fifth bomb for a DC character based on a film. Obviously, since the hit movie, The Batman actually did okay. But then, of course, you have the other bombs that happened in recent past that they actually talk about. Some have noted that the film is a very expensive punchline. and talking about that whole thing. But according to one source, the ending of the first movie's original script featured Phoenix's Joker carving his face in front of a crowd of supporters. But the Dark Knight filmmaker Christopher Nolan killed the idea, believing that only his Joker should carve his face. But Nolan is no longer at the studio, and thus there was no resistance to the idea this time around. That's crazy because, all right, cool, but there's been, other versions where there is some scarring, but I get it. But then all of a sudden you think about that ending. It's like, okay, Phillips, he was like, all right, he didn't allow me to do that then. I'm going to do a version of that in the sequel, which he did, but you don't actually see it. And I'm just kind of going like, good on Phillips to be like, you know what, fuck you for not letting me do this first time, and I'm just going to do it right now, and I'm going to mic drop, and I'm out. And, of course he talks about the fact that, the Joker is like an idea, which it is. Literally in the air cut, Jared Leto's Joker goes, I'm an idea. And he is. The Joker can be an idea because you never really know who exactly the Joker is in the books. Of course, they've tried to do stuff. The Killing Joke was, of course, the best interpretation of like who Joker was before he was Joker, but it was like somebody that we didn't know who exactly it was, falls into some chemicals, loses his mind, becomes a Joker. But then at the same time, you've had like versions where there's been 3 Jokers at one point, and it's always, the Joker essentially is an idea, and I think that's why a lot of people got upset by the fact that Arthur ended up not wanting to be the full-on Joker and then end up turning into a Joker that's going to take on a Batman. And then, of course, at the end, you have somebody that kills him and basically turns himself, a young kid, turning himself into a Joker, a different Joker that might essentially take on Batman. But that's left up to your interpretation on whether that's going to be the case. And I thought that was actually, in my opinion, as a Batman fan, I thought that was pretty great. I'm not going to lie. I actually thought, oh, interesting, because he's an idea. He can be an idea. But I know some people did not like that. Anyways, moving on. Neither Phillips nor Phoenix has even was even sure about making a sequel, and for a time contemplated putting a Broadway show instead before ultimately committing to a movie and bringing aboard Gaga in a role inspired by the comic book character Harley Quinn. The idea for the sequel came to Phoenix in a dream, and he and Phillips brought the idea to Emmerich, according to sources. Now, that whole thing about Phoenix having a dream, there is this right here from the Venice Film Festival. So this is what Phoenix actually said when it came to this.
The dream was not inspired the movie. The dream was just I had this dream that I was performing as Joker, doing songs, and I just called Todd because I thought there might be something there, and there wasn't. Thank you.
There you go. So there was something. So maybe there was like an idea there or something. I don't know. Maybe he's joking. Anyways, I don't know. But yeah, it was just like, so when it came to the whole dream thing, I'm just not quite sure exactly if it, there was like maybe it was partially kind of like that. I don't know. But it was like Joaquin Phoenix just kind of almost debunking that. In the end, some are saying that Joker Folie à Deux is a very expensive art film. But when asked who the intended audience was, one outside source sums it up in this way: for Joaquin. And that's it. What? For Joaquin? It's all interesting, but it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things here, and I think it's just, when it comes down to it, it just sounds to me like it's just one of those things where Todd Phillips didn't really want to do it. They had an idea. He did the idea. They allowed him to do the idea. The idea was brought to and pushed forward by the old regime, Pamela Abdi and Michael DeLuca. And again, it's just, this is going to, even though it's going to lose money. Definitely. It's going to definitely lose money. But at the same time, I'm just kind of going like, this is going to be something that's going to be studied. It is going to be studied because it's going to be, it's not quite how, because if you think about it, we've now had three? Is it 3 now? 3 movies: Captain Marvel to the Marvels, Aquaman to Aquaman 2, and now we have Joker to Joker Folie à Deux. Billion-dollar first movies and bombs for the second movie. It's something that's going to be studied. But when it comes to this one, it's really going to be studied because this one, the Joker, I mean, this is R-rated, artsy-fartsy type of, indie kind of style. I don't know. It's not the same. It's not like Captain Marvel to the Marvels and Aquaman, because those are just like full-on superhero movies. It is going to be kind of interesting to study that. And then, of course, you have like the ding-dongs out there that just start going like, they start talking about how like, where they fuck, they're going to blame like, since the women didn't show up for the Marvels, they're going to blame the men. They're going to blame white men. It's like, shut up. Not the same. Stop trying to do something where it's like you're trying to, do the whole fucking gender or even race thing or something like that. It's not. People just want to go see good shit, and they were not hearing good shit. People didn't want to go see a musical, and that's the thing. That's a risk you take when you pitch it like that, because you might just alienate like half your audience right off the bat if you're talking about how it's a musical, and people are just like, "No, fuck that." I mean, but I think like for the most part, the fact that people love the first one so much, I thought it was so good. The fact that it was like going to be something quite different, and of course, there's a lot of people, and I wish people would just stop saying that it shouldn't never existed. Okay, we get it. When it was announced, we were all kept on saying, yeah, it should have been a one-off, shouldn't have been this, shouldn't have been that, and I was saying that too. But then I was like, all right, well, let's see what happens. Okay, the movie exists. You can't just stop saying that, because if you say that, it's not going to make it magically go away. It's just going to exist. Okay? It's just going to exist. So get that out of your heads. But yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's going to be something that's going to be studied, and man, it's just the reactions have just been crazy. But yeah, there you go. There's that whole article right there, and yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes to all that. So, but now let's talk about something that's working. Let's talk about something that's working when it comes to a villain. We got the Penguin, episode 3. Man, talk about something that's working. And man, this episode, ooh, buddy. This is a Vic episode. It's also Sophia and Oz teaming up episode. A lot of things going on, but, no spoilers here in case you haven't seen it. But man, seeing the opening and you're seeing Vic's point of view when it comes to what the Riddler did and blowing up the sea walls and all the water rushing in and how he connected to it, man, adds just a little bit more to it. But, to the character. And this is very much a Vic character. There's so much happening on that. And I know the next episode is very much a Sophia episode. Can't wait to talk about that. But at the same time, a lot is happening in this episode. It starts off where you just go, heartbreaking. And then you're just going, is Vic going to stay around? So there's tension between Vic and Oz in here, and it's great. But at the same time, he's teaming up with Sophia, where they're going like, hey, we got this new thing, this new kind of drug, and we think it could be something. And they're teaming up and trying to take on whatever the fuck. But man, the way that this episode ends, holy Lord. You're like, oh. And then it just ends. You're like, oh, man. So I'm like, okay, yeah, cannot wait for episode 4. But yeah, this series is just it's chef's kiss, baby. Absolute chef's kiss. And I can't wait for more. But man, I know, it's just every episode, it's just getting better and better and better. It's better and better. Oh, it's so good. So there's my review. Quick review of The Penguin episode 3. Now we got the box office. I mean, well, yeah, we already know. It's so funny, too, because it's like, any normal movie that didn't cost a certain amount and whatever the hell, actually not a bad box office. And, we're all talking about Joker 2, Joker Folie à Deux, and it's like, oh, yeah, did it do, like, so bad? Was it, like, Crow bad? Was it this kind of bad? Was it... No, it's not that kind of bad because, if it wasn't this movie, I mean, it would actually be a pretty good box office, to be honest. There it is, $37.7 million, but that'd be good for a small movie, even for the first one, but not good for, essentially a $200 million budgeted movie. That's right. And there we have it right there. 77 million international. Altogether, it made $114.7 million. Yikes! And of course, we have everything else. Wild Robot continues to, do well too. I don't know what the budget for this was, but it's at 100.7, which is good. Beetlejuice, doing pretty well, over 400 million worldwide. So not too shabby right there. And Transformers 1. Sadly, that one's, it's doing okay, but it's not going to make its money back. So. But yeah, Joker, man, it's just, woo, buddy. I mean, who would have thunk it? You go from $1 billion to this right now. It's going to be interesting to see what overall what it actually makes. And, it's already turning into like one of these cult classics because it's divisive. I don't care. I mean, I enjoyed it. A lot of other people enjoyed it, but there are people that flat out hate it and are glad that they're seeing this right here. And I'm just kind of going like, I'm never glad that a movie fails. I'm always like, hopefully it captures an audience. But in this one, I think it's going to capture an audience later. But, sadly, I mean, all the money it made for the first one, which, of course, Warner Brothers was stupid enough not to, put a lot into it. And then, of course, they did all this other stuff where they didn't actually get some of that return. Yeah. Now they're losing the money. And it's just, but, of course, it's a whole different regime. It's all crazy stuff right here. But joke's on everybody. I don't know. It's so weird. It's just, again, going to be studied. My God. So there's your box office right there. And now let's talk about this article right here when it talks about toxic fandom. We always talk about toxic fandom. Every fandom has toxicity in it. I don't care what fandom it is. Toxicity, social media, that's what happens. It's just what happens, and a lot of people go like, who's the worst ones? I think a lot of us kind of agree that maybe Star Wars fandom might have the most toxic fans if you're thinking about it right here. But then again, when it comes to Star Wars, Lucasfilm trying to do some interesting stuff. And then you got like these big voices, which, yeah, I'll give it to you that those guys, like the guys that really push back against the woke stuff and all this stuff, they go really hard on it. They do, to the point where they built up their whole entire audience to react to that. And now, like how, because they're like more conservative, more right-wing, they are now doing the same thing that the hard left was doing, where they were trying to find racism, sexism, and every kind of ism in everything. Now they're trying to find, the opposite of that in everything. And they go overboard where they just sound like full-on haters. But at the same time, they got something like The Acolyte that just came out. It's like, then it was just bad writing. There's just bad writing. There's bad acting. There's just bad things. It wasn't good. And then there was even an article that came out that said that one of the actresses was like, yeah, Lucasfilm needed to protect the actors more than they actually did. Protect them from what? Angry messages online? Angry comments of some fucking idiot that was beating his fucking keyboard? I mean, unless like something physically happened, were they being attacked in real life? Again, social media is a thing that you can just log out of. It's not real life. Yes, I'm sure they got some horrible shit sent to them. But at the same time, I'm sure they got mostly positive shit. That's usually what it is. But as human beings, we always emphasize the negative. We can have 99.9% positive, but you get that 0.1% negative, you dwell on that. And you always have to emphasize that. It's stupid. Anyways, here's the article right here that came out last week, and this does not sound good at all. Toxic fandom, how Hollywood is battling fans who are just out for blood from social media boot camps to SuperFan focus groups. SuperFan focus groups. What? On August 29th, Amanda Steinberg, the lead of Star Wars series The Acolyte, posted an 8.5-minute video on her Instagram stories about Lucasfilm's abrupt decision to not to pick up the show for a second season just a month after season 1 finale streamed. It was not a huge shock for me, Steinberg said. Since the series was announced in 2020, she continued, we started experiencing a rampage of, I would say, hyper-conservative bigotry and vitriol, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language towards us. Steinberg was unavailable to comment on this story. Yeah, of course she was, because she can't really back it up all that much, because I'm not saying that she didn't get some of that. 100% she did, but I'm sure there was a lot of positivity that got sent her way, which of course they'll never recognize. And sorry, but the story wasn't all that great. And me not thinking about your gender or your race, you weren't a good lead. You just weren't. In my opinion, the acting wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And it showed because people didn't fucking tune in. Simple as that. In other words, The Acolyte was the latest high-profile target of toxic fandom, the catch-all term for when fan criticism curdles from good faith dissatisfaction into a relentlessly negative, often bigoted. It's not even often bigoted. They just group everything together. That's one thing I notice is they always want to group things together because there is bigoted stuff and they group everything together. Even if you have like a healthy criticism of the story, you will be grouped in to the actual, vitriol, bigoted shit. That's what they do. And that's how they back themselves up. I still remember, and I remember even calling it back in like 2016 when the female Ghostbusters came out. I'm like, oh yeah, if this movie sucks, they're just going to blame dudes for hating it and say sexism. And sure enough, they did it. And I'm like, no, it was just a horrible piece of shit. And a franchise economy increasingly dependent upon established audience devotion to drive the bottom line, the threat of toxic fandoms poisoning the enthusiasm has become seemingly intractable headache for almost every studio, and it's only getting worse. It comes with the territory, but it's gotten incredibly loud in the last couple of years. Yes, because of social media. People are just out for blood regardless. That is true. They think the purity of the first version will never be replaced, and you've done something to obsess the canon of the beloved franchise, and they're going to take you down for doing so. And I agree with that. It's just the way it's going to be, but as long as you put out something good, you're going to get mainly positive, and you're going to be people tuning in. I mean, why? And then, of course, it talks about, Last Jedi, and it talks about the House of the Dragon, and then, of course, it talks about the female characters kissing, which I don't know why that would even be a problem, to be honest. Just the backlash begins before the project has been seen the light of day. A Reddit mega thread dedicated to outrage over Bridgerton casting a black woman and the love interest for friends. They're talking about Bridgerton. These guys are really, I don't think it's dudes complaining about Bridgerton. Are they really doing that? And then, of course, it even talks about 2016 Ghostbusters, and of course, there's death threats. But hey, I've gotten death threats myself. I don't really take umbrage on it. I'm like, what is it actually something? I don't think somebody's going to show up at my house, and that's never happened. But, I mean, geez, you're out there. You're just going to get that. Perhaps the greatest irony of this phenomenon is the disappropriation. Jesus Christ, I can't even say. I'm like, that word so big, and my brain can't process right now because too much boozing over the weekend impact these toxic fandoms have. So it talks about that. The vast majority of any fandom are casual fans. Yes. Talking about the number of people who live and die on their franchises are very, very few. And then those who come after things that they espouse of love with Venom are a really, really tiny subset of that already smaller subset of fandom. It's just much easier to see it now. I don't know what is really that much broader than where things were in 1995. It's just that the bullhorn wasn't there. Exactly. Thank you, John, for saying that, because it's always the loud minority that's doing this, and it ruins it for other fans. That's why we get lumped together if we don't like something. Like, oh, well, you're just racist, sexist, bigoted, whatever the hell. For some, combating that bullhorn amounts to acting as if they can hear it, particularly when it's a negative, toxic conversation. We don't even engage, says a TV marketing executive. Like with toxic people, you try to not give it too much oxygen. One principal concern is that reacting to these kinds of attacks risks alienating fans who are unhappy with the creative choices about franchise, but haven't tipped over into abusive behavior. Thank you. So a studio may attempt to amplify friendlier voices instead. We'll reply to comments that are positive and elevate those things, as you should. The toxic fandoms have grown. So the toxic fandom has grown more pernicious. I don't know if that, I'm probably saying that word wrong too, because, I can't pronounce things and my brain's not working today, that they've become a fact of life for many and so powerful that while talent, executives, and publicists will privately bemoan the issue, fear of inadvertently triggering another backlash kept several studios from speaking for this story, even in the background. Those who did talk with Variety all agreed that the best defense is to avoid provoking fandoms in the first place. In addition to standard focus group testing, studios will assemble a specialized cluster of superfans to assess possible marketing materials for a major franchise project. Here we go. They're very vocal, says a studio exec. They will just tell us if you do that, fans are going to retaliate. These groups have even led to studios to alter projects. If it's early enough, the movie isn't finished, we can make those kinds of changes. This is where it gets bad right here. That's where it's terrible, because now you're ruining art. Now, if you are doing a piece of, a show or a movie, and you are trying to push in your face, oh yeah, we are going to be as progressive as possible. It's all about this. It's all about that. If that's what it's all about, then fuck that. If it's the director and the writers that are actually trying to push hey, we're going to tell this kind of story, you shouldn't be fucking with that, and just let it go out there and let the audience judge it. Several studio insiders say often put their talent through the social media boot camp. In some cases, when a character is intentionally challenging a franchise's status quo, studios will, with the actor's permission, take over their social media accounts entirely. When things get really bad, especially involving threats of violence, security firms will scrub talent information from the internet to protect them from doxing. Interesting. I guess that's what they're trying to do right now. In some particularly egregious cases, a direct response has been necessary. In 2022, after Obi-Wan Kenobi, actor Moses Ingram denounced the hundreds of racist messages sent to her about her role. There's nothing anybody can do about this. There's nothing anybody can do to stop this hate, she said. Lucasfilm posted a statement in its Star Wars social media accounts that read, in part, "There are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist." The Star Wars accounts also shared a video of Obi-Wan star Ewan McGregor saying the abuse made him sick to my stomach, and that if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. But that's the thing. It's it was still a small group. And then, of course, it just keeps on talking about all this stuff. I'm not going to go over every little bit of it. There is one way to handle toxic fans on the internet. Stay off of it. I'm not online. I'm protected, says frequent Marvel star Elizabeth Olsen. Generally, it's a lot of positive experiences of making kids happy. I ignore the other stuff. Thank you, Elizabeth Olsen. That's the thing. And again, there are people that just want to be dicks. They want to be dicks and they want to say this stuff. They do. And that's the thing. But if you emphasize it and then you lump everybody involved, it's just not a good thing. And then, of course, if you're going to do these focus group things, that just sounds stupid to me. Because then you're going to kill somebody's art. And because you're trying to protect this IP, and then you're not allowing people to grow the IP, you know? And not everything's going to work. Not everything's going to work. Not everything's going to work. But I think the whole focus group thing is just a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea. So, there we go. Well, all right there. So, I mean, this is weird because now I'm not going to answer questions or anything like that. But there's the video. I mean, it's going to be an hour-long video to show that's not live. But it's going to be unedited. That's what I had to say, and that's what would have been said if I was doing Film Junkie Live. Thank you guys for being patient with me. Subscribe to the channel, do all that stuff. I apologize again for, what happened, or the fact that we're just, I don't know what was going on. But the output for the live stream just wasn't working. So I decided I'm not even going to try to do it again. And I'm just going to record it and upload it. So hopefully you guys watched it and stuff like that. Really appreciate it. Hopefully on Wednesday, everything runs smoothly. Like I said, it just seems like, a couple times a month, I just have some problems when it comes to actually live streaming. I don't know what the hell it is. And it sucks because things have been pretty good lately. But for some reason today, not so much. All right, guys. I love you. You guys are awesome. And, that's pretty much it. Film Junkie out. See you on Wednesday, hopefully live. Talk to you later.